Hold on. All right, I think we're live. Yeah, we're live. Okay, everybody, welcome into the SFA and Chill podcast. This is episode 7. If you are new here, which a lot of you are, we do this every Thursday. Me, DogWater, Nick, and then this is the first time we have Fink on, so welcome in. I guess say hi.
Special guest this week.
Woo woo.
Emphasis on the special.
We're all drinking alcoholic beverages,
Oh, shit.
so we cannot be. You cannot hold any of this against us.
Yeah, I mean, also this is we can't do this when Jay Jettis is on, so.
Oh, true. Yeah. I'm drinking Coors Light and C4 energy drinks. I'm kind of double fisting them. So, and what are you guys drinking?
Bud Light Seltzer Retro Tie-Dye Pack, which is probably my favorite seltzers. Big fan.
Is it like tie-dye color? Like what's that? Is that
Yeah,
just the can?
they have some tie-dye on the cans. It's just supposed to be like a summer thing. So it's got blue raspberry, twisted berry, and I think cherry limeade, which is definitely the worst of the three. But
All right, enough of Fink's girly
they
ass
have more
drinks.
flavor. So, I mean, look, I alternate with this and beer, but
All right, well, we're gonna
it's more
start.
whatever.
I
We're
picked
gonna
up a
start
case of
with,
Coronas. You didn't ask me. I picked up a case of Coronas.
Corona.
Well, he did ask everybody.
Well, sorry,
Yeah.
I had to go get it.
I now know the exact
DogWater,
path
what are
you
you
just took.
Yeah.
Hey,
All
dude,
right.
He's,
Get on. Go.
he's just
Hey.
high as hell. He's zooted. All right. So we're gonna start with
What happened?
we're gonna start with the real life like college football rankings. I mean the top 6 is pretty chalk. I still think it's bullshit. LSU is above USC. I don't know. My one main thing about the committee is like, I know you don't like North Carolina, but at this point, one loss, yeah, they keep winning. Like, at what point do they start getting that respect?
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying in terms of that, but I also think that the ACC is well down this year, and I don't know if you've actually seen results from North Carolina, but it's not like they've necessarily, really been out there like stomping teams. And they played Miami to the wire, the team that got blown out by MTSU. So I don't know that I'm necessarily like super high on them.
I would take any Miami score with a grain of salt. It's pretty well known among ACC fan bases that Miami will play like Alabama one week and like Georgia State the next.
But let me tell you the schools that North Carolina has gone down to the wire with. North Carolina has gone down to the wire with Wake Forest, Virginia, Duke, Miami, Georgia State, and Appalachian State. Are we for real that this team should?
Hold on.
But those were
Nick.
all W's.
You're the Tennessee coach, right? Wait,
Okay.
TC, I gotta stop this for a second. You're the Tennessee coach, correct?
I am.
Are you from Tennessee?
I am.
And you pronounce it Appalachian?
Okay, listen, stop.
Oh,
Appalachian.
my God.
Sorry, my bad.
Oh,
You know,
my God.
okay, actually, I did not realize something. Here's the thing. You know what's so funny? There's a word that I didn't realize I was saying very Southern until someone told me, wow, what the fuck are you saying? And the word is theater. And I didn't know.
What?
Like, that sounds normal, right?
Who the fuck says theater?
Yeah, see,
Are
that's
you
the
doesn't
high?
say theater.
Are you high?
Doesn't say theater. Are you fucking high?
It's theater.
This is the thing.
It's
So, okay.
theater. There's
Okay,
an
but here's the
in
thing.
there.
No. But here's the thing. Here's a great thing, right? Is that whenever you say the alternative, which is theater, whenever you say back the Southern version, you sound like a fucking hick. Theater, like
Who the hell? I've
it
never.
sounds.
I mean, I'm a Westerner, right? Colorado, Arizona, and California, only place I've lived. I've never once heard any of these bumfucks say theater. That's the what?
Theater.
Nobody says
It's a theater.
Everybody says theater.
Theater.
Theater, bro. Like the only people
Like, that's
who
how we
say
say it.
theater are fucking their sister. I don't.
Listen, but it's how everyone says it down here.
And you all fucking.
I'm telling you
sisters.
100%. No,
Dude, no, dude. Dude, what are you talking about? Dude?
I don't have a sister.
I've literally, with my entire life growing up, it's been called theater. I've never fucking heard somebody say theater.
I'm sorry, bro. Fink, please.
Do you need a heater
North
with your
Carolina
theater, big
has
guy?
to be the cutoff. Come on. Fink.
What do we?
How do they say
Fink?
it? Up there?
Fink? What are you?
What? Wait. What is the question?
So okay, I said that with the okay. So the thing is that whenever I said this word around somebody, the word is theater. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
How do you say that word?
Well, okay. I'll give a little context. Yes, I was born in North Carolina. Have lived my entire life here, and like all my family's from Southwest Virginia. So I should say things pretty southern, like in a pretty southern manner. You would think. A lot of things I don't really like. I mean, I pronounce it theater.
Okay, there we go.
Okay.
See,
feel like
This
just
must be like a Georgia,
No, this is
Florida thing.
This is one of those weird South things. You guys are wrong on a lot of stuff,
Right.
But it's theater for sure.
Is that not how I pronounced it? Theater?
No, theater.
You said theater.
Yeah.
We say theater.
Okay. Yeah. So I said it the like normal non-southern way, right?
You said it the only
Okay.
way it should be said.
Interesting.
Yeah, okay, Urban
yeah.
Dictionary.
It's the same way with like oil. Like everybody around where I grew up calls it like oil. Yeah.
Oil?
It's
You
oil.
guys said, what is this world? It's oil.
that?
Who says oil? The fuck is
Okay,
that?
you have an oil leak. Like that's
At least he
I'm
says
sorry.
wash and not wash. I know a lot of Southern people that
There's
say
a lot of
wash.
Yeah, whenever people say they're gonna wash their hands, that's crazy.
There's a-
Dude,
that's a
I'm
crazy
never
debate over
going to
whether
a
it's,
southern state again.
pecan,
If I saw that in the
or
wild,
pecan.
I might die.
Yeah,
my God.
there's also the whole there's the pecan, and pecan debate, which that's a whole.
It's
That one's-
pecan.
That
Don't
one's
fucking
not
at me.
all that.
Yeah, it's
that
pecan.
one's not that bad because that's understandable. But Jesus Christ,
My ex used to say whenever she wanted like some of your drink, she would say, "Can I have a sup of your drink?"
Okay.
What?
Good thing you broke up with her because that's
Okay.
just.
I thought you were gonna go with the thing where every.
That's
soda
not
is
even
Coke,
Southern, Nick. That's illiterate.
Wait, what were you saying? Fink, what were you saying?
Have you not? I think it's mainly a Georgia thing. It's in some other places in the South too, but calling every soda a Coke.
Oh yeah,
Oh
for
my
sure.
God.
Like if you want to,
My grandmother does
say,
that.
Like, give me the lemon lime Coke, or
Yeah.
something like
Oh
that.
my
I don't
God.
understand how it
Well,
works.
like my grandfather, whenever my grandfather really likes Diet Dr Pepper, but he would always like if he wanted someone to grab him a Diet Dr Pepper, he would always say, "Can you get me a Diet Coke?" And it always confused the hell out of us because we were like, "You don't have Diet Coke."
Oh my God, it's
Yeah.
that one's
I'm
just
sorry.
confusing. And
I'm sorry.
I could go an hour on my grandpa's weird pronunciations of things. Probably the most striking one. So like he's like super Appalachia, not Appalachia. That's the anyway. He pronounces like the car Toyota is a Toyota.
See, that's not that bad either.
I don't
like,
know if that's a regional thing. Well, if you heard him say,
What do you mean that's not that bad, dude?
That was gonna say,
Who the
that
fuck
one
you
may
get
be one
tired
of
of
the crazier ones.
I'm
want to take a
sorry,
drive
man.
in the Toyota?
Yeah.
Oh,
I
Okay,
am
we're very off.
flabbergasted. I am flabbergasted. Anyways, back to these shit ass rankings.
So North Carolina should not be higher. They should not be in the top 10. I'm going to be honest with you. They shouldn't. They've played every game. They've played nearly every game close.
Shouldn't either.
But Drake May is really good. Like if you actually watch the offense,
Yes,
it's good.
I agree.
They're. I honestly think I would compare them. I would say they are a poor man's USC. So I think they should still be top 10. But I don't think that they should be over probably Alabama or Clemson. I'd probably put them at 10. But the fact that you put them under Oregon, who's the worst team in the Pac-12.
You're so anti-SEC. It's crazy.
No. Okay. Also, I want to point out, just look at these rankings, right? They are setting it up to have 3 SEC teams in. All that needs
They
to
are
happen,
not.
dude. All that needs to happen, TCU loses and LSU wins the SEC. And then, bam, you have 3 in. It's going to happen. I'm going to be pissed.
I guarantee you that Tennessee would not get in over a 1-loss Pac-12 champion, Southern California.
Yeah,
and they would not get in. I swear to you, you're going to put Southern California in over Tennessee if they win the conference. I don't think that they're going to win the conference, but I would be happy to see them in there. Now, what I will say is that I think they would put USC at 4, regardless of what happens from here on out, if they put them in. However, the thing is, I think let's say like TCU loses, Michigan loses pretty bad, and then your Final Four or Georgia, Ohio State, Tennessee, and let's say USC goes all the way, they go undefeated. I think in that case, they would put Tennessee at 3 and USC at 4 to avoid the Georgia-Tennessee repeat. But I think if it's a spot for the 4th spot, like if it's a fight, like, they're comparing the two, I think they put USC in above Tennessee.
No fucking shot. No
I don't
fucking
disagree
shot.
with that.
Nah, dude. I don't see that happening at all.
You don't think so? Why
Dude,
not?
because you're gonna have to compare the 1 loss. 1 loss for Tennessee is gonna be Georgia.
But they always look at okay. But here's the thing: they always look at, like, I understand the 1 loss, but I think conference champion matters more than what was your 1 loss.
I don't think it does whenever your conference isn't as good.
I think Pac-12 is pretty solid this year. I don't think.
No, Pac-12 is a solid conference. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's fucking. This is gonna set TC off, but it's not the SEC. I mean, just.
It's not the SEC. I think he would even agree that it's not the SEC.
You're right.
But I
It's
think
not.
the thing.
We are the conference of champions. We have the most
Oh
won
my
championships.
fucking God.
We're better than you.
Okay,
You haven't
but
won a
let's have a real
championship
conversation
since
here.
0-4. Relax.
Let's have a real conversation here, because I
Okay.
do think the committee would be justified in putting either Tennessee or Southern California there if Southern California won the rest of their games. But I will say that I think it should go to USC more than it should go to Tennessee if they both go undefeated from here on out.
I
Now,
agree.
I don't think it'll ever come to that.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so the thing that sucks right now is that there's only, from what I can count, 9 teams still in the race for the playoffs. Obviously, the 4 they have in Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, TCU, Tennessee, LSU, USC, and then the only other 2 teams outside that have a path is Clemson and North Carolina, but North Carolina's almost no chance. But theoretically, those are the only possible 9 teams. I don't see a way how. I think you're guaranteed to get at least 2 SEC teams in. No.
I think there's 8. I don't think Alabama. I think Alabama has a 0% chance to get into this.
No,
point.
I said Alabama's at 0, but
Bama's
Clemson and UNC, a 1-loss ACC chance. If there's chaos,
I don't know that North Carolina has any chance either. If they go undefeated.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go on ESPN's stupid predictor shit that gives you the percentages, they're probably at like 2% or something dumb shit.
I mean, Alabama is at like 5%.
Here's
They
a
have 0%.
hypothetical. It's unlikely, but
Fuck Alabama.
let's say Ohio State, Michigan is kind of a bad game. Whoever wins ends up losing in the Big Ten championship. Well, what does that do? I mean, that's kind of your chaos scenario. And we'll say like TCU gets beat in the Big 12 championship, maybe even in the regular season too. So they're at 2 losses.
The Big 12 didn't have a
ultimate
championship
chaos here.
game.
Dude, if that
Yeah, the Big 12
happens,
does now.
There's definitely a world where UNC could get in.
yeah. So
It's
like,
just unlikely.
I mean, in that specific case, if the Big Ten, it's like somebody loses by like 30 points and then they lose, and then the other one loses in the championship to Purdue, I think that. And
Wait,
then
is Purdue
TCU
going to be the
losing
West
as well.
team?
Yeah, I mean that's the projection right now. Is
Oh,
Purdue.
wow.
I don't know who it's going to be, but Georgia obviously won. I think if LSU wins the SEC, they'll be 2. Maybe they'll be 1, or Tennessee. I don't know, but those 3 teams will be in, and then the 4th spot will be down to USC and the winner of Clemson and North Carolina, and then also the loser of that Big Ten game. Like it'd be a 3-against-1 type deal.
I think this week, a lot of people will fall off of Michigan because I feel like they're not going to have a very impressive game against Illinois. I think it's going to make people kind of like back up a little bit on them. And then if they lose against Ohio State, I think they're just out.
Yeah, I can agree with that. All right, anybody else have anything they want to roast the committee on or something?
No, I don't really have any issues with like how the committee ranked everyone. I really don't. I think Penn State is very solid. I think they're fine at 11. Utah is extremely solid. I probably at this point would put Clemson over Alabama, to be honest. I don't know why they're still over Clemson. I don't think Clemson's very good, and I think they're probably one of the worst one-loss teams. But I also think that like Alabama could very well be 5-5 right now.
Yeah.
So I obviously I don't think that there are infinitely few situations in which they are, but I just think that there's like they've been in so many close games and they have not looked like a good team. And I think if you removed Alabama from their name and put like, if you put North Carolina on their name, they would be at 11 or 12 right now.
Thank you for joining the dark side and realizing it's all brand bias and SEC bias.
Well, I think for Alabama it is, but I also think that I also don't think that it's like, because here's the thing, right? Is like to an extent, while I disagree, I think Alabama should be at 9. If they had the North Carolina tag, I think that they should be at 11 or 12. Here's the thing, that's not brand bias. That's because that Alabama is always competitive, and it's one of those things where like it's the reason why Tennessee would still today be an underdog versus Alabama, even though they've looked more dominant this season and actually have the head-to-head win. It's because they've consistently shown over the last 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years that they have been able to put up a roster and in a game. Like I don't think they've gotten blown out since like Oklahoma in a bowl game, like, I don't know, 8 years ago. Right. And so it's like, I think that because it's Nick Saban, and I think it's Nick Saban, and that it's that Alabama team, and that there's a Heisman winner at quarterback, I think it's fair to keep them at 8. Or like, I would put them at 9, but I do think it's fair because of their history and because of the way that they've played over the years to put them 2 or 3 spots higher than you would a generic team, or like, a team that's not been up here as often. So I don't necessarily disagree super hard with the committee. Like I said, I don't think it's necessarily brand bias. I think it's more so you have to look at what they've done in their body of work over the last like 5, 6, 7 years.
Yeah, I mean, I would pretty much boil it down to 2 points, which is Nick Saban and recruiting rankings.
Yeah,
and I mean that's and maybe also national championships, but that kind of goes into Nick Saban.
Here comes a Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, there it is.
First coach ever to have a number 1 class and go under 500.
Yeah, but he's not been competitive in he's not been competitive in a lot of his games this season, and he also is 3-7. So I'm not really hearing it out on Jimbo Fisher here.
All right, let's move it on. Let's take a look. Our upset picks. Please don't look at the records. They're all pretty bad. The best record is DogWater 3-9, me at 2-6. Nick, you're 0-6. All right.
Hey, we'll figure it out.
Typically, how we do this is we pick one upset that we think is actually going to happen, and then we do like a super upset of a 14-point dog. I'll go first. My regular upset is, God, I really hope this doesn't happen, but it was reversed last year. Baylor beat TCU last year. TCU beat Baylor last year to fuck up their CFP chances. I think they returned the favor. TCU's 3.5-point favorite. I think Baylor wins. I really hope it doesn't happen, but I think it will.
I'm curious as to why you hope it doesn't happen.
Because I want to.
Because he wants parity.
I want parity. Of course, I want USC in the playoff. That's like the best case scenario for us to get in. But I would rather. I like watching the Horned Frogs. They're already in the top 5 or whatever. Or the top 6 or. So I would rather see TCU.
You're hoping for TCU and USC.
Yeah, basically. I know it won't
Okay.
happen. I
Fair.
think there's a good chance one of them gets in, but but honestly, I don't necessarily have faith in our defense to get us there. I think we might drop one to one of these teams coming up. But on to my super dog pick. Pretty consistent that I pick against this team. Coincidentally, he's also our cover athlete
State,
for season
isn't it?
10. Clemson is going to lose to Miami. They're 16.5 point favorite.
Oh no.
I don't know how, because Clemson can't even score 16 points. Yeah, Miami will win.
Neither can Miami. They put up 6
Ew.
points over 2 weeks.
The over/under isn't even 50. It's 48. That's
Yeah,
so
Because Miami's put up
gross.
6 points in 2 weeks.
You know what?
That's gross.
It's going to happen. Miami's going to pop off. Clemson's going to tumble. Dabo's going to threaten to retire because of NIL deals. It's going to be great.
You know, Clemson will tumble, but it's not going to be to Miami.
Keep
Are you
sleeping.
seriously want to pick a team that got blown out by Middle Tennessee State?
DogWater, did you not hear what I said earlier?
Yeah, I'll take it, dude.
Yeah,
They'll
I would
play like Georgia State, but they'll also play like Alabama, and you don't know which one you're going to get.
against Alabama against Bethune 70-13. Like what games have they looked like Alabama this year?
Against
None
Clemson
this
on
year, but it-
Saturday.
Look, it's a big game. Everybody in the ACC hates Clemson. They give Clemson their best shot every year.
Dude, what are you talking about? FSU and Miami
worse
have been
teams
arch rivals
have beat
for
Clemson
decades. And Florida State went into Hard Rock and beat the brakes off of them like a redheaded stepchild. There's a video. Our safety comes to
Look.
the line, grabs their backup
Yeah,
quarterback
but
at Miami,
you-
and just starts pushing his ass around like his little bitch. Miami has no fight in them this year. Cristobal is a fucking joke of a coach. Dude, and see, hear me out. No, fuck you guys. I said at the beginning of the season, before the season started, Miami was going to be dog shit this season. Everybody gave me shit. Everybody told me I was wrong, and I'm just a biased FSU fan. And what the fuck happened to Miami?
See, none
They
of that
are
matters
dog
because
shit.
they face DJU on the other damn side. That man.
He
he's
has not
not-
played that bad this year.
Okay, he has games where he's good. If he's good, they win. If he is not on, he will be so dog shit.
Okay.
He will fucking lose.
Let me put it to you this way. So you know how in SFA, Teddy Bridgewater's known for choking,
Yeah.
right? So you know how he would always throw those fucking crazy picks to make Baylor lose in the playoffs, right?
Sure. Yeah.
You know how Memphis dropped all those picks that he tried to throw?
Sure. Yeah.
That is literally Miami. DJ could do whatever he wanted to throw this game, and Miami won't let him.
We will see. That's why they're
Miami
my
is
super
that
dog.
bad.
It's a super dog pick. What do you want? There's not gonna be
Yeah, I
a
mean, at
good
least
pick.
there
True.
is a good pick this week for fucking
Okay,
Superdog.
let's hear it.
All right, let's hear it. Let's hear your
Alright,
normal
you
one.
wanna
Let's
hear
hear
it?
your super pick.
So
Normal one
my normal one's not that spicy this week. It's some G5 matchup. We got Tulane facing up against SMU.
Bro, they're playing
Tulane's-
right now.
Are they right now? What?
They are 7-0.
They're already losing 7-0.
Well, I was going to pick
It's
SMU to win that
about
game
halfway
anyways.
into the first quarter.
Okay, so SMU. Okay.
Anyways, my super dog is give me the Fighting Illini over Michigan this weekend. Michigan struggled against the Rutgers team. I don't know. I think Michigan's a bunch of frauds anyways. I think they are every year. I don't know. Best super dog pick I could see on this list was definitely going to be the Fighting Illini, so that's my super dog
I'm
pick.
sorry, you say
I think
Illini
Michigan's favored by
wrong.
18.
It's not Illinois.
Yeah,
It's Illini.
that was bad. I wasn't gonna say anything.
I
that was
don't
bad.
care.
The
I don't
Fighting
care.
Illini. The fuck are you saying?
Hey.
Why don't you go wash your hands, all right?
Oh god. Okay. Fink, let's hear it.
All right. Well, gonna be honest, did not know we were doing this until right when we started when we mentioned the segment. But
That's all
I
right.
do have picks that I came up with in the last 5 minutes.
Let's go.
So, for my underdog, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, Kansas at home against Texas. They're 9-point
Okay.
dogs. Texas, their offense has been terrible. These are both 6-win Big 12 teams. It's too many points. I think Kansas is gonna get the win in that one.
Holy shit!
like
The
it.
line
I
on
like
that
it.
is 63.5. Oh my god!
Over
Is
under
the
shit.
QB
Yes,
back for
dude.
Kansas?
That's I don't know if he is, but the
he's
last
not
time
back.
I watched Kansas was
Well,
that
then
that
Kansas
game
gets
against
blown.
TCU that was game day.
Yeah, dude, Kansas get blown in that, dude.
Jason Bean has been really good as the backup. I mean,
I agree with that. Jason Bean is really
I
good.
mean, they went
56
from
yards,
5-0
14
to what,
touchdowns,
6-4?
4 picks. Yeah, but I mean, they've been playing tough teams.
Fucking sounds like
And I mean,
Florida
look,
State to me.
It's Kansas. They've
Yeah.
beaten Oklahoma State. You know, that's a good win. They beaten Iowa State, not bad. They beat Duke earlier in the season. Duke's looked like one of the better teams in the ACC. I mean, this is definitely a major success of a season for Kansas. So, I mean, and they've been mostly competitive in their losses. They haven't gotten blown out by anyone. So, I like Kansas to. I think they're going to embarrass Texas, and we know that Kansas has a thing for beating the shit out of Texas. I mean, it's become a meme at this point. Much
True.
Yeah, they won last year.
embarrass the Longhorns. So, I think Kansas is gonna really make a statement with this win. I like Leipold or Leipold. How do you pronounce his last name? I think it's Leipold.
Is it
Yeah.
Leipold?
Leopold,
Or
maybe I
Leipold.
don't remember.
Anyway, he seems like a really, really solid coach. So I'm taking the Jayhawks. And then what's the amount of points that we need for the Superdog?
14
14. All right, here we go.
or more.
For my Superdog, we're going to the Fun Belt. Old Dominion on the road against Appalachian State.
I almost picked that one.
App State, 16-point favorites. This is not as good of an App State team as they typically have. I mean, they did get that win against A&M, but we kind of see how that one looks now. Not nearly as good. A&M's just kind of a dumpster fire this season. Old Dominion hasn't been great either, but they beat my Hokies, and if they can score some points, their defense has actually been pretty solid this year. They beat Coastal Carolina by 28 earlier in the season in kind of a really shocking game. I think that's Coastal's only loss this year. So it does seem like they kind of get up for the bigger games. So I'm going to take Old Dominion. They just got thrashed by JMU last week. So I think they're going to be mad, and they're going to be looking for some revenge. And I think they might just go into the Rock up there at Boone and get a victory.
I like it.
Nice.
I like it.
Flame is saying Akron's going to win in Mac Nation. He's saying the spread's 16. I have no idea who they play,
Maction.
but he's picking
It's
Akron.
did you say Mac
they're
Nation?
playing Buffalo.
That's what it is. It's Mac Nation.
It's 1-9
1-9
Maction.
Akron. That's
It's
a bold pick.
It's Maction. What are you talking about?
Oh,
It's Mac Action, not Mac
okay,
Nation.
Mac-
Mr.
yeah, not-
Theater. I can't even fucking say it. Theater. I can't.
To be
It's
fair,
not-
It's
we are
theater.
Theater.
Bro, did you just say he said Akron's gonna win the
Let me go
fucking
to
Mac?
the
They're
theater.
1-9.
No,
He said they're gonna beat
He's saying that there's. Oh my god.
Still
They're gonna win
insane.
this matchup this week
Yeah.
in Maction. You guys not know what
Against
Maction
Buffalo?
is?
That is going to be a massive snow game. So it's
I got
at
you.
Buffalo.
And you know what?
Weather
That's
will play a
fucking
major
nuts.
Props to
factor.
Buffalo for not moving their game like the pansy ass NFL. There was a time when the NFL would have played that game and it would have been fantastic.
Bro, it's probably gonna get canceled. They're expecting 72 inches.
No,
Does
they
it
already
look
moved it to
like I
Detroit.
care? They have.
No, I'm not talking about the NFL. I'm
snowplows.
talking about Buffalo probably cancels their game. What do you want to fucking
yeah.
snowplow every fucking 5 minutes? You want to stop the game and snowplow?
Yeah.
They're expecting
I thought it was supposed to
72
happen on-
inches.
I thought it was supposed to happen on Sunday now, though. That's why they
war of
canceled the game, the
attrition.
NFL game, is because it's supposed to
I
be the
will
day
say though,
a
I
day
looked
later.
at the weather forecast for Buffalo earlier. I think the National Weather Service was saying anywhere from like 20 inches to 3 feet. But it looked like most of it was going to fall Saturday. So kind of iffy, depending on if it's falling earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon. Iffy on whether they'll get that game in.
See,
But
here's what you do. You just
Okay.
put
if
them
they
both out there.
are
and
able to
first team
play,
to score.
it'll be electric.
Just first team to score wins, and then you go home. It could be 5 minutes. It could be 5 hours.
True. All right. Here we go. You know what? I am sad that you didn't pick South Carolina, TC, because I would have loved to have seen another 44-6 fucking rout, but that's all right.
I didn't trust it.
For my underdog pick, I think I'm more excited about my super dog because I think my super dog is gonna really blow y'all away, but it's kind of interesting. Just for my normal underdog pick, I think I'm actually gonna go Oklahoma over Oklahoma State. I think like Oklahoma, like it has the pieces right. It has all the pieces there. Obviously, they didn't put it together this year, but I think Oklahoma State is so down morally that, especially at Oklahoma, night game, big game. Fuck it. I think
they're not down morally. They're used to this.
I mean, but I just think
like the norm. Like in all honesty, this is just straight up the norm for Oklahoma State.
But I think like they were a top 10 team all year, and then all of a sudden they get blown. I mean, they don't get blown out by almost 50 Kansas State.
The wheels
every
have
year.
Completely fallen off that program.
The wheels have completely fallen off, and so now they're at home against Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma honestly takes that one, and I think it's not even. I don't think it's a one possession game.
I like that.
I think it's like Oklahoma wins by 10 or 14. Oh wait,
Oklahoma's a favorite in that game.
What the fuck? Why is Oklahoma favored?
Because Oklahoma State's lost like 3 games in 4 weeks.
God damn it! All right, well then I'm picking Arkansas over Ole Miss.
I thought about that one too, but dude, KJ Jefferson just fucking. I don't know. He seems like he's supposed to be a good player. I'm always hyped for Arkansas, and then they just shit themselves. So.
And Arkansas over Ole Miss. Ole Miss is now feeling really bad, and now their coach is about to leave, and they're just feeling bad. They're not feeling good about everything.
All right, well, what's the super dog?
Okay, so this is really interesting because this is actually out of all of our picks, this is the lowest spread. But this may be the most interesting super dog. I think UAB beats LSU.
What?
Somebody take this one.
Okay, LSU. Here's the thing: is I looked at the line and I said, "How the fuck is the line only 15?" How the fuck is the line only 15? That feels weird as hell to me, which is why I think UAB actually wins that game. Vegas knows something that we don't know. Why the fuck is UAB a smaller underdog than Illinois is to Michigan? Why is that?
See, I might.
Well, Vegas doesn't know anything.
If
it's just the
LSU
bets.
Playing for a playoff spot, I might be willing to listen to that argument, but I
you don't think LSU's looking ahead?
How?
To Texas A&M, they're kind of scared of that
they could
trip up
possibly
spot.
lose to UAB when they have a playoff spot on the line. Like I trust Brian Kelly more than that, and I might have to eat my words. But
does it not feel
I
weird
can't
that that's only a
imagine
15-point spread?
How
Does
can
it not feel
LSU,
weird?
Well, you have to also understand the spread is made up of people just like me and you. A bunch of fucking drunk idiots on a fucking Discord. I mean, like, seriously, yes, it is. How do you think the spread is made? It's based off of betting.
Yes, okay, I understand, but they have models. Like they understand. Like there are things that they understand.
Yeah, you can tell me everybody has models. If models
like,
were so good, then we'd have had a perfect March Madness bracket.
Dude,
but the models don't work for this shit.
I mean, that's
they set the odds,
bad faith
and
argument.
the Vegas odds, they set them, and they normally don't really move more than like maybe half a point or a point. So like, I mean, they're really good at getting a baseline.
They're really good at figuring out what the fuck is going
the
on.
LSU Ole Miss game moved by 4 points.
Okay, I understand that. But here's the thing, right?
Ole Miss was 3 points favorites.
I understand that. Here, listen, but you have to understand that like Vegas has to make money. like why are we even arguing this? Vegas has to make money. They know that like Vegas has always been considered.
Oh wow, they have to make money. Give a 15-point spread. Fucking vote for LSU to cover that. Put money on that. Now all of a sudden they don't. Like, what are you talking about, dude?
They're not going to lose money. Like, okay, because if you were a bettor, you would for sure put money on LSU on that spread, right?
Yes. Without
So
a doubt.
they're just giving away free money?
Dude, they have fucking bets all the time where fucking you bet on one Justin Herbert throws one touchdown pass in a
And he
game where
lost.
he's only had but he's only had 2 career Monday night fucking touchdown or Monday night games and he threw 7 touchdowns.
This is what I'm
over
saying.
those.
You're arguing my point. They know. They know why. So listen, a bunch of people are going to bet LSU and the line, which is why I think it's going to go the other way.
Bro, they made DraftKings made a bet for Cordell Patterson to get a yard while he was on IR.
I understand.
He was on IR. He couldn't even go into the game. Obviously, a bunch of people bet no.
Yeah,
no,
okay,
people bet no on it. A bunch of people they do this shit all the time.
But they're not just giving away money. They're not a charity.
They do that, though. That's how they get you in.
No,
you get that first win. You keep betting. That's how they do it.
That's DraftKings and the apps. They give the boosted odds so that you can get warp in and get your free bets. But they're not going to just secretly put that shit on a UAB LSU line. This is not the place that they would do that.
It literally is
They're
because
like,
this is a no-brainer.
No, dude. They're like, okay, guy, join. I really know. No, UAB's
dude.
really good.
What are you talking about, dude? No. This is where your average Joe that doesn't bet a lot comes in here and thinks this is a no-brainer pick.
And then he bets LSU and then he loses his ass.
Yeah.
That's how they make their money. What are you talking about?
That's the point.
Oh my god.
That's what I've been saying.
All right.
DogWater, there's no such thing as loss leader games.
What are you talking about?
That's a crazy take.
That might be a crazy pick, but you have to admit that the line is odd for the game.
All right, so everybody now take our picks, do the opposite, and you will be correct. All right, now we're transitioning. We're transitioning to the SFA. If you haven't seen any of the playoff results, I don't know what the fuck you're doing. I have them on the YouTube channel, whatever. Anybody have... This was your guys' first complete season. How'd you enjoy the playoff? Did you watch it? Like, was it... I know I had to do, like, 4 games on the same day, which isn't normal. But...
I really only watched like the semifinals and the finals. I didn't get to watch the quarterfinals. It was nice seeing that Clemson and Ohio State was a close game because the semifinals were not.
Yeah, and that's strange. Normally, like the last 2 years, the first round games have all been kind of blowouts, and then the semifinals and then the final are close. Last year we had a huge ass blowout in the championship. But yeah, I was really glad it came down to the wire. Unfortunate there was like some time management errors that Ohio State made, but I think it's hilarious that Ohio State they've been shit for so long and then they finally get good and now they're 0-2 in a natty. Fink, you've been in here.
I don't know. I think there was a.
Go ahead.
There was a couple of fucking games in the semis that were pretty close. Like the Kansas State and Georgia that was close?
Well, yeah, but that's the quarterfinals.
You just made the
was that the quarter?
Mistake, DogWater. You mixed up your semis and your quarters. Did that about 5 times in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So that game was really close. Honestly, all of the first round games.
Washington. That was the other close game.
So I'm gonna actually say that they were all decently close games. Like in the fourth quarter, I felt like there was a chance that all these teams came back, and then, like in the NC State Ohio State game, it was a 1-score game in the fourth quarter, and then they kind of blew them out. And then Memphis, you got to within 1 score at one point before they added the second touchdown. The Clemson-Washington game, that was just frustrating to watch. But yeah, the Georgia-Kansas State game, I think, was definitely the best game of the playoff by far. And
yeah, I mean, I think the final score doesn't show like the semifinals. Most of those games were like one was actually competitive.
Yeah, I think the Clemson-Baylor game was pretty competitive through 3 quarters, and then once Teddy Bridgewater started turning the ball over and he made the QB change, it kind of fell off the rails. I think they scored like 20 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Who did Georgia play? Ohio State?
Yeah, that game was over with
that was
a matter
fucking
of
boring.
seconds, dude. And you know what?
That game was fucking
Brock
boring.
Vandergriff is gone. I was so scared he was gonna run the SFA for at least the next like 2 seasons, but he decided to declare. So happy about that. But Fink, you've been here.
Yeah,
for
I probably should have.
I know Nick's happy.
Yeah, I probably should have reviewed the players that were leaving before I actually made my picks for next season. But
hey, you know,
we'll see
whatever.
how it goes.
Yeah. But Fink, how did this playoff kind of compare to the other ones? Because you've been here since the beginning.
I'm gonna be honest. I remember very little about the other playoffs besides like, what the actual winners were.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this was definitely a pretty competitive one. It was a little bit weird how, I mean, we've already talked about it, but how it was sort of structured with a lot of close games to start and to finish, but in the middle we had some blowouts in the semis. I was definitely disappointed by Baylor, especially. I mean, Ohio State looked like a wagon all season, so I thought Georgia would give them a run for their money, but I guess I'm not super surprised that Ohio State blew them out. But Baylor, I was really hoping to see a closer game out of them and Clemson, because I thought Clemson was a lot more beatable than I guess they ended up seeming in the playoffs. But yeah, Baylor kind of got waxed in that one. You know, makes you wonder what the future of the Big 12 looks like, you know. Maybe, I mean, this could be a bad sign for Baylor's future.
Maybe
you know, the division might be in jeopardy now. You know,
yeah.
a lot of I hear there's some really intriguing coaches moving into the Big 12 that could be here to kind of shake up the scene, you know.
Okay.
All right, we'll talk about that in a second. But there's 2 things here. One, Ohio State pulled off the best possible season you can have without winning a national championship. You go 15-0, and then you lose by 1 point. You can't do better than that. So I think that's hilarious. As far as Georgia,
wasn't it season 2 Florida kind of did the exact same thing?
Yeah, except they just lost to who did they lose to? It was Texas.
No, I don't think it was
Texas
season
Tech.
2. Oh, it was
Season 4
Florida.
Yeah, because that's when they lost to Jay Jettas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they were going for the first undefeated season ever, and just kind of lost it there at the end. This Ohio State team kind of resembles that Florida team a lot, I think.
Yeah. And then Georgia, I think this is either their 4th or their 5th playoff appearance, and they do the same thing. They just shit themselves and just get just completely boat raced. I think this is probably going to be
at least
the
they
last
didn't do it
time.
in the first round this time.
Yeah. No, that's true. I think this is going to be probably one of the last times for a while we see Kansas State at this level. They lose Deuce Vaughn, and then obviously now you have Fink coming into Kansas. I just don't think that they're going to be all that competitive in the future.
Losing Deuce Vaughn is really tough.
Baylor, I think they're still going to be kicking it. I don't know if they're ever going to be a threat for the national championship. But my major disappointment was Washington because they had 2 defensive touchdowns in that game and somehow still lose to Clemson. I don't get it. Their offense couldn't muster fucking anything. They were running the worst offense I've ever seen. Like 2 fullbacks, 3 tight ends on first down type fucking formations. So not quite sure about that. I thought it was a good playoff though. Clemson winning it did surprise me. All right, any you guys have any final thoughts on the season 9 season?
Rest in peace, Memphis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that Memphis was as far as they did, but I mean, I don't know. I think it was like nice because I think all of us were pretty in agreement of like the top 8, which is cool. Which I don't think is super common, is like to have a definitive top 8. I know Notre Dame was kind of like, but like Notre Dame's resume looks like shit. So it was good to have just like a pretty definitive top 8.
Game,
yeah.
So. They kind of, I guess, if we're going off of the like season 8 Clemson precedent, they kind of proved that they weren't deserving of the playoff by losing to Rick and ASU in that
Yeah.
bowl game.
I think Maryland, they kind of proved that they did have some merit, but I'm also not really disappointed in any of these teams that were in it. NC State
Yeah.
put up a decent fight. It was their defense that just couldn't get a stop. The one thing I will say is I'm going to kind of hype my own self up. I was the only one in the committee who suggested Clemson over Memphis in the rankings, and I feel like I proved myself right there. That Clemson.
Yeah,
probably
but
should
I
be
already
number
told you
2.
about this, dude. I get they won the Natty, but that's so ludicrous to say that a 2-loss team should be ahead of a 13-0 team.
I
That
agree
just
with
doesn't
that.
even make sense. Like
I
I get it.
I still think that Memphis still deserved the 2 slot. I really do. I think that they deserve the 2 slot only because, again, I think we have to look at it like this. In the SFA, generally, having in a simulation like this, having an undefeated season is huge. It's very difficult to do. And I think that was worth, especially whenever you're looking at all the 2-loss teams. There was no, obviously Kansas State, if Kansas State would have been a conference champion, I would have put them 2 because they were only on 1 loss. And they had a good resume. But because they fell out of that, and that's why I argued so hard for them at 5. And I know they lost that first game, but again, it was against a conference champion who was seeded higher, and it was a close game. But regardless, that's why I was so hard on them, and why I wanted them to be the 5 seed. I know at first it kind of seemed like, I don't know, let's look at this, but I think it was valid. I think they were the only team that you could really put at 5, and I think Memphis was really the only team you could put at 2. In the end, obviously, Clemson won it all, but I think Memphis did deserve the number 2 spot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just tooting my own horn a little bit. All right, now to talk about coaching changes. I put up McNasty's graphic with his heads on the sticks that Fink didn't think were sticks.
Are we sure those are sticks? Because I'm still not.
They're definitely not spears. You know what I mean? Like McNasty, they're supposed to be like heads on spears, but yeah.
That was not the vibe I got.
Yeah, but I mean, so far we have coaching changes are finalized. I want to spend time on that because obviously we have 2 of them here. First, we knew McNasty was leaving SDSU, and he kind of committed to Michigan State for a while. And then Fink was next up. A little back story on that one is Fink in the shit bowl. If he lost to Georgia State, he wasn't going to be able to go anywhere. He's going to have to stick it out for 1 more year at Western Michigan, and that would have definitely sucked. But he won that game. He got a couple offers, and he chose the Jayhawks. Do you have any insight onto why you chose the Jayhawks?
Well, first thing I want to say is, hand up, if I had decided on a more appropriate offense earlier in the season, we would have never been in the shit bowl. It was pretty clear once we switched from triple option over to what did we end up with? Air raid. Once I switched it over to an air raid offense, our team actually became competitive. Even though we had no defense to speak of, those games were still a whole lot closer. So I'm firmly convinced if we had been running an air raid the whole season, we would have won at least probably 4 games in the regular season. But you know, that is what it is. I'm sad that my time at Western Michigan came to an end. That being said, I hate the color brown with a fiery passion. So I'm not that upset about it. I do feel bad leaving Pinstripe behind. He's kind of holding down the fort of the Mac, or the husk that was the Mac. So I feel bad leaving him behind, but I'm really excited to be at Kansas. I definitely I wanted to go to Kansas kind of because, you know, just like in real life, SFA Kansas is kind of a joke. And so if I can turn Kansas around, Mike can rehabilitate my reputation as a coach a bit. I've had some unfortunate stops. Well, Western Michigan wasn't even the worst of them because we were good my first year there.
Yeah,
Last year
he's been pretty
kind of
horrific.
unspeakable. But we were 8-5 my first year there, very solid. Marshall, we had 2 good seasons and 1 bad season. I got ran out of the door at Virginia Tech after my very first season, so I kind of feel like maybe if I had been given more time at places that could have had a little bit of a different ending. But at this point, I'm committed to just going to as many teams as humanly possible. Just kind of setting a record. So,
well, to be fair, I think you're gonna have that record for a while. And like your Wake Forest job,
we're hoping so.
It was like in the primitive stages where all you could choose was play
18
styles.
and 8 at Wake Forest, just for the record.
And then you actually chose to go to Virginia Tech. You didn't get fired or anything from Wake. You chose to go to VT, and then
that was a mistake.
And then you got canned after 1 year, but then we kind of put in like the rule where you should have more.
Let's be honest, that was sim matchup screwing me over. That's what that was. Sim matchup had a ridiculous hatred for Virginia Tech that I don't understand, but it took like 10-win Virginia Tech teams and made them like 4 and 8.
Yeah.
For no reason, and it did that routinely. So I don't know what the deal was with that. If I was at Virginia Tech in the actual NCAA 14 era, it would have went very differently. But
and then you got the conference championship in the AAC in season 6.
I did.
And then expectations were just so high for NCAA 14.
Hey, TC.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Mm-hmm. Am I the record holder for most AAC championships by a user?
Okay.
I kind of feel like I am.
I'm not gonna speak on that one too much. Potato, theater. But let's change the subject on that. DogWater, you shocked the world with your pick. I want to get your guys' reactions because from my angle, like I'm going through these taken jobs and I don't know if you guys actually know how the game works, but it's like one at a time they pop up. And then all of a sudden the Arizona coach, who they're ranked number 11 in the final poll, he chooses to go to, it's actually Texas A&M where he decided to go in game. And that left this job open, and obviously the only person who could have been offered it is DogWater because he was final rank was 7th. So that was quite the shocker. And then I'm even more shocked that he actually took the bait because he's been saying SEC, ACC only want a massive budget, blah, 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 or I'm just going to stay at Memphis. And then he first declined the offers, and then he decided, no, wait, I'll take Arizona. So definitely one of the wild things I've seen.
So, McNasty, I did not lie to you when I told you I was staying. I actually did fucking tell TC I was staying. All right. Well, I'll just see. I told because Nick and McNasty asked me, we're kind of like where my head was on it, like if not like where I was gonna go, but if I was gonna stay or if I would like listen to offers. I was like, I'm gonna listen to offers, but I'm gonna stay probably because like I told you as well and everybody like it was gonna take a crazy offer for me to leave. Because there was no point in me going to some shit team and like not really having fun with it, not having a budget to do anything yet, when I could sit back in Memphis and like I didn't know at the time Brandon Thomas and Sethany God were leaving, but I was because I don't know, I just sat there. I was like, there's really it's kind of stupid in a way for me to just throw away the budget I would have gotten with the Memphis. And Arizona was, I can't give out the number, but they were in the ballpark of Memphis type where it would be. And I don't know, I was thinking about it. I was like 13-0 for the regular season, and then I lose in the playoffs, still made the playoffs. That's kind of, to me right now, like the peak for G5 schools in the SFA right now. There's not really enough you can do with SFA for a very long time to me to compete with just basic in-game recruits from a lot of these P5 schools.
Yeah, I will say for
So-
P5,
Yeah.
it's going to be super difficult because, one, like, it's not just like, okay, I made it to the championship game. I just got to win once against Ohio State. It's you got to win 3 straight
Yeah.
games on game day, like where ratings matter a
Yeah,
lot more.
and game day was honestly like almost the best fucking time for Memphis, like watching Memphis, because they just did everything. It's just whenever you watch them on game day, they could not get those turnovers that they do during sim.
Yeah.
And then, but the reason I picked Arizona was I realized this was going to be my best window right now to go to the P5 like I wanted to. And it was just one of those offers that was crazy enough that I'd said it would take to actually get me to leave Memphis right now. And so after looking at it, realizing what was going on, I said, "Fuck it, give me Arizona."
And
I have it's an instant rivalry.
Great. All right. Hey, listen real quick, boys. I got to go. I appreciate
All right.
y'all.
Thanks for joining.
Oh, it was fun. All right. See you, boys.
All right.
Yeah, Nick.
Yeah, so the instant rivalry with Nick, I think, made it a unique landing spot because obviously Arizona 2 years in a row has kind of screwed Arizona State out of a playoff spot. They were 2 losses, and then they got held out of the championship game, the Pac-12 championship, because they lost to Arizona. And then this season, while ASU still won the Pac-12, Arizona gave them their 4th loss, so they wouldn't get an auto bid. So I think it's a unique landing spot. Even if you guys are both bad, you still have that one game that is gonna kind of give you guys bragging rights. And
I mean, Arizona State and Arizona are usually not bad, either one of them.
Yeah,
those
SFA
are both
was,
top
yeah.
20 programs all time in wins. And I mean, Arizona is one of the few programs with an actual natty to their name. So,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm super glad now, looking back at it, that I actually made the move because fucking Seth Hennigan and Brandon Thomas both left. Like, Memphis is looking at 3 wins probably next season.
Yeah, I was trying not to hint at it, but yeah, those guys leaving really fucking sucks for them because they also like are.
I mean,
losing
McCoy
Le'Veon
gets his
Bell.
start, dude, his senior year.
He does.
McCoy gets his start finally.
As long as they didn't
yeah,
recruit someone. But yeah.
that's kind of strange that you're upset about Hennigan leaving DogWater. I wouldn't think that would impact your move at all, you know? Not like you're
What?
planning to start him to begin with.
I mean, look, McCoy deserves a year, all right? That's all I'm saying. McCoy deserves a year, dude. I can't wait to see next season when we're all thinking Memphis is going to get like 3 wins and McCoy just goes off on Seth Hennigan type numbers
Dude,
or Alex Flynn type numbers and then takes them to the playoffs again, dude. That would be so I don't know. That to me that would just be the greatest like turnaround in SFA history.
It's definitely one of those spots
I mean,
where
I
it's
kind of
like
expect them to be about where they were before you got there, which is, 8-9 win team, somewhere around that range. I mean, they've been.
I don't think so, dude. They lost 2 of their best corners. Le'Veon's gone, so they're down to having like a 60 overall back at strong safety. Brandon Thomas and Seth Hennigan and Javon Ivory are all gone. Like that's
yeah, I think
there's just nothing left.
Yeah, I think their championship window definitely closed.
No, it was this past season. It was win or bust for that roster.
Also,
What are we defining as a championship window? If we're talking like SFA championship, sure, yeah, their window's closed. But I mean, if we're talking Conference USA championship, absolutely.
Yeah, but nobody's looking to just win the Conference USA.
I would disagree there, Fink, because personally,
I don't know.
I'm looking at Louisiana in the other division, and I don't see a way Memphis beats them. You got Nider Finley, you got Darren Williams. Now he has Sue coming in,
Or Tulane too.
or even Tulane. They kind of fell off the rails at the end of the season.
I'll even say right now, I don't even think they beat SMU. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't even think they beat SMU next year.
I
think you can go ahead and say that Louisiana's going to be a better team than Memphis next year, and you can predict that. That's fine.
Well, yeah, because
But
they're SFA players.
Yeah, but you don't rule out a team that you think is going to be good but not great before the season even starts.
You do whenever they lose everybody, though. Like
I don't
there's,
know though.
I get what you're saying, but like when I say they lost everybody, I'm pretty sure Memphis lost like 9 starters to either declaring or seniors.
It's going to be the same thing as UAB, unfortunately, because UAB was in the same spot. They had Tom Savage, Rex Burkhead, and some decent wide receivers and a manageable defense that led them to the playoff, right? This magical run, and then you hated on child cancer and whatever. But but then this
Sorry,
season,
what?
they I'll go back to it in a second. But then they lose then they lose the quarterback, the running back. They still had some of the defense like Dominique Easley on the edge and everything, but they only get 5 wins this season. I think it's going to be about the same kind of a deal with Memphis. I don't think it'll be as bad as 5 wins. I think they'll probably still be bowl eligible. But I just don't see them competing at a high level, especially without a user on that team. And now all of their SFA A players are gone because they were seniors, the ones that he had.
Well, yeah, it's
And
not even
he's
just that.
taking his
UAB at
class.
least kept defense.
Well, yeah. But yeah,
Like
back
Memphis
to the,
didn't keep anything from either side.
back to the hating on children. He supports children cancer because in the playoff I put on the uniforms for UAB that are like Children's Hospital honoring whatever.
I forgot
like
what
that's
the
what they're
actual
called.
reason was.
Okay, well,
Yeah. And
doing
then,
that was about the
and then
equivalent.
He came in and is like, "What the fuck are these uniforms?"
Well, I will
my
defend
defense,
Fink here for a second.
They were
You
horrendous.
putting that on UAB for them to get blown out in the playoffs is the equivalent of cruelty that Iowa does to wave up at those sick children and put on that dog shit of a
No,
performance each week.
Okay, it was on for their game where they won against San Diego State. San Diego State. It wasn't against Ohio State where they got boat raced. They just wore their regular unis. So.
No, okay. Well, never mind. Fink, you lost out. I tried, dude.
Look, if you had seen those, I hate to pull this card, but TC, you wouldn't really know how bad they look. Those jerseys were horrendous. They were god awful.
Yeah, no,
no amount of money to childhood cancer can erase that from my memory.
Oh god.
It's those were horrible jerseys, and they disgusted me, and I'm not going to apologize.
Okay, holy shit.
Oh my god, he's doubling
Fuck
down
them
over
kids.
a year later. Oh, no.
Doubling down on the fuck them kids.
Oh no.
I mean, look, it's good that you're giving money to fight childhood cancer, but maybe also do that while wearing a borderline watchable jersey. Would be. I don't think it's too much to ask. Maybe it is, but that's where I'm at here.
All right. Well, let's move on a little bit here. So, next up is I'm revealing the season 10 logo for you guys who don't know. The college football playoff MVP is the cover athlete, and the logo changes colors for that team. So Clemson won. DJ Ugilalele, whatever. He is our cover athlete, and here is the logo. Oh my god, so cool. Dude, I'm just... I actually think it looks really good. I'm glad we don't have a red and black logo anymore. We had red 3 straight years. It was red and blue for Arizona, then red and yellow. That one was okay for Iowa State, and then the red and black for Utah. But I really like it.
A lot better in silver and blue.
And just to talk about...
I'm just now seeing it on stream.
And then, so see it on stream. DJU, I just want to talk about it. He had 2 interceptions and a fumble in the quarterfinal game. 2 of them were returned for touchdowns, right? And then in the second game, he pops off and throws 6 touchdowns with only 1 interception, which you can't blame him. It was a Hail Mary interception at the end of the half. And while his championship game didn't really do all that much, he only had about 250 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. He did what he was supposed to do. The game manager, he just kept getting field goals, which ended up having him win the game. I just couldn't. He's the cover athlete because I couldn't find somebody better. And that's just kind of his legacy. But I will say, though, is that if you look in the SFA history sheets, I've added a new sheet this season that has the career leaders in every statistical category. And DJ is on every single passing one. He's either leading in pass yards, TDs. He's also on the interception list. So he was truly in game as he plays in real life, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, I mean, also, if you look at DJ's performance during the playoffs, it really was not that. He had the one bad game against Washington where he threw 2 picks, but that's 2/3 of his entire interception portfolio over the playoffs.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
go ahead.
it's yeah, he is on the interception list, but if you look at his touchdown to interception ratio, it's still very positive.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, he's been a very solid quarterback. I don't think he's going to win a Heisman or anything, but he's been a very solid leader for that team, and he's led them to some really solid seasons and now a national championship. So
Yeah, 1-1 in Natties. In season 8, they probably did get left out, even though he did lose that bowl game. But I just like for just kind of a lore. They lucked out against Washington. The defense got him the win despite DJ playing like absolute dog shit, and then he showed how good he actually is. Like, he had 3 such different games. So I think that was pretty awesome to see. All right, so now let's go into your Season 10 predictions. I'm going to kick it to Fink first because he was claiming he had some wild ones.
oh boy.
So let's see what you got.
All right. Man, what order do I want to go with here? So I have my conference champion predictions for all the conferences, plus threw in a little bonus. I predicted the records for BYU and Notre Dame since there are only 2 independents.
Okay.
So I think I'll start out with the P5 conferences, and then we'll kind of work down instead of doing it alphabetically.
Okay.
So, all right, let's start it off with the ACC. So, just a little bit of a recap. Clemson, national champion. They won this year. I think they beat Miami in the championship game. The ACC was really, really deep this year. There were a lot of good teams. Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Florida State, NC State were all ranked for most of the season with Miami and Clemson. So, the ACC looked like a really strong conference. Next year might be a little bit of a surprise pick. I've got the Noles actually winning the ACC. I think that Sir Lama has, well, I guess this depends a little bit on him actually sticking around for a full season. We'll see if that happens. But the team played really well under him this year. They've got, a really strong recruiting base. And I think they've been trending in the right direction as a program. Clemson has been one of the juggernauts of kind of the NCAA 14 era. They've been, I think they've been a top 10 team all 3 seasons that we've been using it.
Yeah.
So it's a bit tough picking against the Tigers, but at some point I think you have to have a little bit of change, and I think the Noles are going to win the conference next year.
I like the
Mm-hmm.
I had Florida State winning the conference this season. They fell short of my expectations, but Braxton Miller is coming back. We saw that today, so that's huge for him.
The only reason they fell off is because he put him in triple option.
Well, yeah, but
if he leaves the playbook alone, they win.
Learn from my mistake. Don't use triple option. It doesn't work.
It has its place.
Unless you're Georgia Tech.
But also, DJU is graduating, going into the draft or whatever. So, I think that's I think this is the prime opportunity for Clemson to have a down year. And then I don't know what you're going to say for the next division, but for me, I don't see how Miami doesn't continue their dominance in this conference because they've continuously gotten some in-game recruits like Mark Liu, who's going to be their quarterback after Van Dyke winds up leaving. They still have God's power offer. And they kind of did the same thing from last year to this year where they still were competitive despite losing all their major skill position players. So, that's my prediction for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I did not predict any divisions.
Okay.
So yeah, I don't necessarily have a pick. I think it's gonna be tough for anybody in the Coastal to knock off Georgia Tech, though. I think this season we kind of saw the blossoming of that program, and I think they're gonna keep it going.
And he's got a quarterback coming in too.
I am scared though for his recruiting class because I'm not there in the offseason yet, and as you guys know, he's ranked last currently. So we don't know how these battles are going to shake out. I know that probably doesn't impact him this year necessarily, but I don't know. It just kind of makes me nervous for Georgia Tech.
I mean, like, I can see that, dude, but
how deep their depth was coming into this season, because he is losing Gibbs, he is losing the quarterback, but he's getting Joe Webb. So we'll see. But yeah, I like Georgia Tech.
I think Georgia Tech wins the ACC.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's a hot take. That is a hot take.
Well, my prediction is Florida State versus Georgia Tech for the championship game, and I think Georgia Tech wins it.
So, I mean, we're pretty much on the same page. We just have a different champ, but we got the same champ game. So
yeah, I don't know who I want to pick out of the North. I mean,
look at that.
I'll make my picks in the preseason. I was 50% on the Visions on this last season, so we'll see if I can improve. But what's your next pick?
All right. Since I know we're doing divisions now, I'm gonna have to pull up my sheet to kind of look at the teams that I'm working with here.
we don't need to pick divisions. I'm fine just going with the.
We might as well. We might as well at this point. I mean, I've already got 1 out of 2 for each of these conferences, so I just kind of have to look through the other division and see who I think will.
All right. Well,
be the
let's
team
go.
to beat.
Let's go to the SEC next then. So while you look.
The SEC. All
yeah,
right.
because that's going to be a shit show. Because I thought that Georgia was going to run this conference the next 3 seasons with Brock Vandegrift, and now he's declaring and
he gone.
And
I have a hot take for the SEC.
Nobody had a good year this year. Not one team had a good year this year outside of Georgia. So it's.
I've
really
got a hot take for you on that one.
So, and I want to pick Tennessee, but I don't trust the Cardale Jones Louis Shire situation. It's still going to be a shit show.
No, sir.
I think it's probably going to be some. I think you'd be dumb not to pick Alabama. To win their, to pick like an Alabama-Oklahoma battle. So that it's
gonna be Florida.
It's always one of those 2 teams.
It's gonna be Florida. I'm telling you.
Florida hasn't been good since Tim Tebow sim matchup era.
No, I'm telling you right now, Florida's gonna do it. They're gonna win the SEC this year.
That's a hotter take even than mine.
Yeah, that's pretty hot. It's a scorcher.
So wait, TC, just for clarification, who are you picking to win the conference?
I will say, I'm going to go Oklahoma, because Caleb Williams, I believe, is coming back as the starter, or Spencer Rattler, one of the two, right? And then I really, really like their freshman, Jerome Jones, the running back. We saw him get a 75-yard touchdown run against Texas A&M on game day. And he was kind of popping off, and I believe he is a freshman All-American, so I think he is a dark horse maybe for a Heisman run. And I think Oklahoma and Alabama have far and away separated themselves as like the most decorated like conference championship competitors in the SFA. So I think it's going to be a mixture of those guys, but I'll pick Oklahoma this season.
See, I don't think I can really trust Oklahoma. I mean, they regressed hard last season.
Well, Rattler got hurt.
We'll see if they can get back to their. What is Rattler going to be back this season?
I don't know if he's a senior or not, but I know for sure Caleb Williams is back. So no matter what, they're going to have like a 95-plus overall quarterback.
Yeah, I don't put a whole lot of stock in Oklahoma. So my pick might be surprising. I'm going Auburn to win the SEC.
Oh, okay.
I thought about it. I thought about it.
Not a bad pick.
Look, they're on a solid upward trajectory here. 7-6, 9-4, and 9-4 in the 3 seasons that we've been doing NCAA 14. The SEC, I'm kind of treating it in game like it's real life. You'll have Alabama and Georgia kind of tossing it back and forth for a while, and then every few years you have some third team. Usually it's your Auburns, your LSU's, kind of pops up and has just a really surprising great season. And I think next year is going to be that year. I think Auburn's going to kind of take the next step in the conference, and I think they're going to win it. And as far as the West Division, I'm gonna have to look here and see who I think's gonna take it. Um,
Ole Miss wins the West this year. Calling it now.
That's not a bad pick, and I'm tempted to go Ole Miss.
I can't trust Ole Miss.
Dude, with their class they have coming in, I can't say no.
Yeah.
The thing they have going for them is I think they're the only user team in that entire division at this point. And they've been getting.
There's a few new ones. I mean, LSU is
and
no
A&M.
threat at all.
LSU is in that division, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't think
we
LSU
got a new A&M.
is ever going to be good.
That's an error of my sheet, but yeah. Gosh, I'm kind of stuck between Ole Miss and Texas right now, if I'm being honest. But I think I might go with you, DogWater. I think I might take Ole Miss here. The more I think about it, they are going to have pretty much anyone else in that division, and I mean it was just a shit show in the West this year. So I think Ole Miss definitely could pull it out. They were really good last season, and I could see them getting back to where they were season 8 and season 10. So I'll take them to play against Auburn in the SEC championship.
Well, I also don't think there's any shot in hell that the entire SEC is this bad next year. I don't think there's any way.
You might
no, I'm talking about the entirety. There was only one good team in the SEC with Georgia. The rest were all at 500 or like sitting around somewhere around 500.
Yeah,
there's no shot every single one of them did that again.
Team was a 4-loss team.
Yeah, this season was worse than most. I'll give you that. But if you look at SFA history, this happens a lot where the SEC just beats themselves up.
Yeah,
it's a pretty common phenomenon. So, I mean, you'll probably have at least a couple teams that win double-digit games next year. So it'll be better. I don't know that you'll have a dominant team necessarily.
I wouldn't say dominant, but I don't think the West winner is going to be a 5-loss team.
Well, let's go to the Big Ten.
You'd be surprised.
Big Ten wise, I think we're a few years out from any real change in this conference. Maryland's losing pretty much all the guys that made them competitive, like their 2 top quarterbacks, Connor Shaw and Talua. They're losing their best wide receiver and Jarrett, and then all their SFA players are gone. I still think Jay Jettas is really a few years out with his new air raid offense to be competitive with Ohio State. And then I also think McNasty and Penn State are probably a year or 2 away as well. So I don't really see anyone pushing Ohio State other than maybe Michigan. But then again, Michigan's losing Devin Gardner, their SFA quarterback. So, but all I can guarantee for sure is the winner of the East is going to win. Pretty much guaranteed.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, but I will.
Do it.
It would pain me too much to pick Ohio State to win the East.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to do it. I have McNasty winning in his very first season. I have him winning the East. I mean, like you said, I think Maryland is going to be losing too much talent to really have as big of an impact as they have, most seasons recently. They're kind of running out of their SFA players. So I think they'll probably regress down to maybe a 7-win team. Michigan, I don't think was nearly as good as their record said they were this season. They played a really weak schedule. I don't trust Michigan at all. For me, it really came down to Michigan State and Penn State. I wanted to pick Penn State, but Penn State has sort of this, just a feeling of little brother where I don't know that they'll really ever be able to overcome being a good but not great team. You know, whether we're talking about the SFA or real life, I think it's really a major factor with that. I mean, they're always going to be good. You know, you're never going to just see the Penn State program in shambles. But I also don't know that they're ever going to get over that hump. And McNasty has shown that he can coach the shit out of a team.
And you know what? He
that
is
Michigan
bringing
State
in.
team.
He's bringing in 5-star wide receiver, 5-star Dwayne The Rock Johnson on the edge, and Binks McBurnfinger, the two-way player, running back and middle linebacker. So I'd be scared.
How can you pick against McBurnfinger and The Rock?
Exactly.
You know, and I mean this.
Like it's gonna be enough.
But you look, you know, the 2 years before last season, so season 7 and season 8, they were a 10-win team. This is a program that's had a lot of success in the past. You know, they just kind of had one hiccup of a season, and I think McNasty's going to get them back on track. So I've got Michigan State winning the conference, and the West is just an absolute mess right now. I think because he has kind of a long history of SFA players, I think Jay Jettis will end up winning the division. He's probably going to disappoint me, and he's probably going to make me eat my words, but that's my prediction as of right now. That whole division is kind of toxic, but that would make for a really interesting Big Ten title game, and I think McNasty gets revenge for their bowl game this year.
Ooh. All right.
See, I agree. He's going to get Michigan State on track. I don't think it's going to. He's basically cucked because he's in like the same division as Ohio State and Michigan.
Yeah. It's definitely the hardest division in the SFA, and I would think just in general, honestly. I know the SEC is really good in real life and everything, but I just think winning that conference or winning that division in the Big Ten is so much harder to do, especially with like all the winter games you have to play. I will say in the West, it's going to be a little bit more interesting than normal, just like picking the shiniest shit in the toilet bowl. You have Illinois, who has Darrell Jackson, who's finally going to start, and they had a good season without him this last year. And then also Cody Green on Iowa, they could potentially be pretty good. But I still think Jay Jettis is probably a few steps ahead of him at this point.
I think he's a middle of the road team next year again in the conference.
Well, yeah, but it's like the best division and the worst division in the Power 5 combined, you know. So, all right,
what are you talking about, McNasty? I'm saying you're going to turn it around. I just don't think you're going to be a fucking playoff team immediately.
Year one will be tough. But if anyone can do it, he can do it. All right, I guess Big 12 next. Does anyone predict anyone but Baylor making anything out of that?
Iowa State.
Yes,
I think Iowa State wins it next year.
You really think he's going to progress that much? He's going to get that much better?
I think he will.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, here's the thing. I don't think defense is going to matter as much next year. I think there was just some really weird games from Kiko Strong last year that were just genuinely it wasn't even just defense. Like, he just had some really weird games last year. I think with Kiko's progression, I think Iowa State wins that conference.
So I think they're going to be really good. It's just I don't know. Like, that division is kind of a wild card for me. I know Arkansas is going to regress a little bit because KJ Jefferson is leaving. But, like, Colorado's a wild card. Like, they're just this mysterious CPU team that keeps winning 9 games, getting no respect. They're adding a really good running back, Cale McCarr, who's an SFA player, who was redshirted last year. But, like, you really don't know who's going to be good in that division. I think in the South it's going to be a lot more like we kind of know what's going to happen. It's going to end up being Baylor against somebody else who's kind of pushing them. I don't think it'll be Kansas State anymore. I think it's probably going to be more likely to be like a TCU, maybe Kansas, depending on how these SFA tamper players shake out here.
You're putting a whole lot of faith in me to turn around this team very
No,
quickly.
I'm not saying this year, but like I think early on, because you know the Baylor's path to success. They drop a few games early in the non-con, everyone writes them off, and then they win 10 straight, right? And they get the auto bid or they get in. Like he's done this 4 straight seasons. I don't see Baylor not winning this conference, especially with the talent he's kept.
Well, regression smishmession. I don't really know how to say the rhyming for that. But yeah, I've got Arkansas winning it. I think they've kind of been always the bridesmaid, never the bride the past few years. I think they're finally going to break through. I mean, Arkansas's kind of identity, at least offensively, has always been, power run, kind of really beefy linemen, sort of just kind of blowing up an opposing defense. So I don't know that the loss of KJ Jefferson is going to be as impactful as we think it will be. I like Colorado. I think they've been good the last 2 years. It always seems like they're about as bad as a 9-3 Power 5 team can be. They don't blow out teams, I guess. So it's hard for me to trust them to kind of take over the division with Arkansas, theoretically dropping off. I don't know that Iowa State is ready to get back to their championship level that they've been at before. And I mean, Missouri is your definition of mid. Nebraska has been just terrible for the last few years. Yeah. And West Virginia is just kind of always meh. So I'm going to trust Arkansas. I think they have shown that they know how to win that division, even with playing a really tough schedule. So I think they're going to take it next season too, and I think they're finally going to knock off Baylor and they're going to win the conference. I do think Baylor is going to win the South Division. I think Kansas State's season was kind of a fluke. I don't expect them to be nearly as good next year. And I don't see TCU or Texas Tech or Oklahoma State taking that massive leap that they're going to need to be able to compete with Baylor. And I love this team at Kansas, but going from 1-11 to competing for the division is a stretch.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I think if we can be competing for a bowl game this season, I'll be very happy with our effort. But I'm not gonna make things harder on myself and be out here promising, a division championship in my very first season. It's going to take some time to rebuild.
At the same time, Kansas's record is a lot worse than that team was because they took a playoff team down to the wire. They beat Oklahoma. I know Oklahoma fell off, but they beat Oklahoma before Oklahoma lost Rattler and then fell apart.
Yeah, that was the game he got hurt. So.
They played a really tough schedule, and they weren't really getting blown out most of the time. To have lost all your games but one and still only lose by an average of 10 points is really kind of shows that the team was competitive last year. They just, weren't doing those small things that would put them over the top in a lot of these games. But, they had 1-score games against Arkansas and Texas Tech and TCU, so I don't think they're far away from winning. Even Memphis, they lost by a touchdown to DogWater earlier in the season. So
yeah.
I think this team is much better than the record says. But
I will say the one thing about Baylor is I think this is the most vulnerable I think they've been probably in the last 5 seasons because
they don't
like last year going into it they were ranked number 5. They had all the expectations. This was the year because you had Marshawn Lattimore as a 99. Teddy was.
They get Lattimore back next year.
No, he's gone. But he's bringing in the number 1 overall recruit, 85 overall running back Braylon Burnside, and the number 3 recruit quarterback Colt Brennan. So this might be where there's a problem is if I don't know who's starting for him, but if it's not Teddy Bridgewater, it's a complete wild card. It could be,
Well, he already said it would be Colt.
So Colt Brennan, he could play like Kiko and be amazing, or he could play like Jared at Arizona State, the hefty lefty, and he's been more of a game manager, so it's like he hasn't really been popping off. I think there is a good chance that Baylor can still I think their defense is going to be better than this year's, but I think that their offense production might fall off a little bit next season. So I'm not sure how big of a fall that's going to be.
I mean, they can't win the conference forever, right? I mean, especially they haven't been dominating the Big 12. They've kind of been winning it in close competitions most years.
Well, so I'd say their issues
they're gonna lose.
Their issues have been non-conference though. Like I feel like once they get into the meat of their division, they kind of run them. But yeah, no, I mean they've
got to stop losing those games to like teams that just wow you.
Yeah, they
just
never
have
make
to
it
stop
easy.
scheduling SMU.
Yeah, hopefully
that's the solution. Just stop putting SMU on the schedule. Well, I mean, it's turning into a Buffalo Penn State situation where
I will say
has
though,
their numbers.
I did see a game as I went through as I've been going through the last seasons. There was a game where Baylor did beat SMU at one point, so it's not like an undefeated type deal.
I mean, for the most part, it is though.
Yeah, for the most part.
2 years it is.
Yeah. All right. Pac-12.
Pac-12.
It's a shit show, in my opinion. I don't know. Stanford's going to probably fall off a little bit because they're losing their top two quarterbacks. I think Arizona State's still going to be pretty good, but he's also didn't really have that great of an offense this season, and their defense was meh. Like, I feel like he played above his potential this season. Arizona, we have no clue how that's going to go, but you are getting your quarterback back. So the South is kind of
and he'll be
weird.
at 90-something after progression.
Yeah. The South is going to be really weird for me. But I do feel like Washington will probably repeat in the North because Cal's going to fall off.
Well, because of how weak the North is, I don't think there's really anybody that could compete with Washington. Like the next best team was Cal at 8-3, but they're gonna fall off. So who does that leave? 7-4 Oregon,
Yeah,
or 8-4, whatever they were.
Not been the best.
7-5, yeah.
7-5, yeah.
DogWater, what are you looking at that you have these like dropping?
I just pulled up the standings.
Season numbers. Oh, okay. I see.
Yeah, I'm not as confident in the Pac-12 dynasty, SFA dynasty, as I have been in previous years. But that's kind of how the NCAA version of the Pac-12 is kind of gone. Like we don't expect much from them, and then Utah popped off. So it's kind of a weird situation out there.
Arizona's winning the Pac-12 next year. You're welcome. Just go ahead and write it down.
I hate it so much that I agree with you. I also have Arizona winning the Pac-12.
Interesting. So the expectations are already
well. So hear me out. If you look at the points for and points against on the standings, at the last week of the season, Arizona had 410 points for, and only 272 against. Arizona State 292 for, 266 against. The closest team that came to like offensive production as Arizona was Stanford, and Stanford's I think is due for a fall off.
Well, and I will say Arizona looked to be like a step away. The only games they lost, I believe, were the big ones against Stanford and Washington, and then against USF, which was a non-con game, I believe.
Did they play Washington the last week of the season?
Nope,
No,
they
they
them right in
played
the middle.
Arizona State, and they beat them.
Okay, well then they went. Then they didn't lose to Washington because they were 3-1 last week of the season, which means they finished 4-1, beating Arizona State. So they only lost, and I know they lost to Stanford, so that's their only conference loss or divisional loss.
I've got it all right here. They lost at USF, at Washington, and at home against Stanford. Stanford loss was by 3 points, lost by 12 to Washington, and 11 to USF. So
yeah, the USF one was tough, but they ended up being pretty good.
They didn't really travel well. Yeah, I mean, it's like they lost the three.
Well, I will say, Arizona does lose the stud running back. He's a senior from last year, so.
Yeah, it's a bit concerning that they did lose. Well, honestly, no. They had about 6 really big games that season. They went 3-3 in those. 3 wins would be Arizona State, Miami on a neutral site, and then at Cal. Won all 3 of those, and then their 3 losses were all pretty big games. So I mean, Arizona definitely was a good team. They played a tough schedule last year. I mean, I think that program has been one of the best we've had in the SFA, and then you're adding DogWater, which could be beginner's luck, could be lack of competition in Conference USA, but I tend to think that having a user coach at Arizona is just going to make them better. And I don't State as that much of a threat, and I don't see Stanford as that much of a threat. So I've got them winning that division, and I can't trust Washington to kind of replicate the success they had last season. I mean, they've been a really bad program in the SFA overall. So I've got Oregon winning that division and Arizona beating Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. So we'll see, but I do think it's a pretty wide open conference, but I'm giving the nod to Arizona right now.
All right. Are we going on to G5 or do you have a daddy prediction?
Yeah.
Or what's your?
Yeah. We should probably go in like a little less depth with the G5 predictions. But,
all right. So
maybe not talk about divisions, but we can talk about champs.
Well, we can start with the AAC. Might as well. I think
ECU by 1,000,000, dude.
Well, with
it's not even close.
Here's my deal. Marcus Mariota's gone. He's my real competition, and ODU is definitely going to take some sort of a step back. Stop. I don't want to talk about he who shall not be named. I have faith because I went 8-4.
There's an honorary SFA player that might have something to say about that.
I have a 1 year of Bo Wallace, right? And if I may remind you, Fink, Bo Wallace led a comeback on game day to end your career against Marshall. And then he came back and beat Notre Dame. So he's the opposite of Alex Flynn. Now, I'm sure his numbers aren't going to be as good. But when the games matter on BearCave, on game day, I trust Bo Wallace way more than Alex Flynn because all my losses this season came on stream.
I don't understand the hate.
No, because all my losses came on BearCave or game day, and I had a lead
teams.
in all of them. Cincinnati is not a big team.
Okay, that's the one team, but they're kind of like your little kryptonite thing. I don't think that happens next year.
Now,
dude, you're making the playoffs next year. It doesn't even matter.
I am scared, though, of Middle Tennessee State and what they're going to do with Flipper Masters, but I think they're a few years away from him actually being scary.
Well, he's going to come in with 80 throw power, dude. So he's not going to be slinging it down the field.
I mean,
you saw what 80 throw power is like. I showed you on my stream.
The only thing I'm scared of is Army because I'm building my defense with all safeties. So speed at linebacker and safety and everything. So if they get some big lineman or I feel like I can cover the edge, but I'm gonna be scared of that up back just ramming me in the throat all day long, right? So, but I think it's pretty easy, clear cut. ECU should win.
Well, I'm gonna have to disagree with you there.
ECU wins the conference. They make the playoffs. I don't know why put your fucking humble pie up, dude.
Here's the facts, TC. How many AAC championships does East Carolina have at this point?
1 appearance.
1 appearance, 0 championships, right?
They're due.
1 appearance.
How many does Marshall have? I believe, 2 appearances and 1 championship, if I remember correctly. I've got the Thundering Herd winning the AAC.
Oh my
bouncing back
God!
from a
What?
Oh
pretty
my
disappointing
God, dude.
What? Grant Wells? No.
They've got a lot of SFA players on that team
Dude.
that are getting into their junior and senior
Okay.
years. This is
Fink,
a
I'm just gonna
very
say something.
veteran-laden team.
Somehow,
Fink's smoking the
wins
best weed I've ever
Some-
heard of in my
okay.
life right now.
somehow Grant Wells is playing worse in the SFA than he is in real life at Virginia Tech, and that's saying something.
Grant
Here, I'm-
Wells is not exactly the problem with that team at Tech. It's, I would say, probably mostly the offensive line, but they're kind of a shit show.
I'm put it this way, TC, put your fucking humble pie up. You're going to the playoffs next season.
I took that route last season. I was guaranteeing it, and then I got
Dude,
shafted. So I'm being humble this season. I think I'm gonna win the conference for sure. It comes down to if I get good production out of Bo Wallace. If he throws 30+ touchdowns, then I'm gonna make the playoff. That's my prediction.
Well, you probably face Army next year. They run the triple option. You're fine. I don't see there's a single.
Here's the deal, TC. You might very well be the best team in the AAC. I'm not necessarily debating that. But Marshall has a history of beating significantly better teams in the AAC championship. And
Well,
I
not
think
last year.
if they can win that North Division, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, they finished dead last in the North. What do you
I mean,
mean?
No, they
it's my
didn't.
luck.
They were
It's
ahead of
my
Navy,
luck.
were they
It's
not?
my luck. We'll see what happens. All right, Sunbelt.
That's my probably hottest take I have. Sunbelt. This one's actually kind of a hot take
This
too.
one is, I think, the hardest conference to predict because
I like Troy in this conference, to be honest.
You can go Coastal. You can go, Troy. It's a shit show for me. I'm gonna go with my what I want to happen. I want Southern Miss to be
Southern
good.
Miss. I want that
him
so
to be
bad.
good. So I'm gonna go with my heart and pick Southern Miss, even though they're probably not even gonna win 6 games.
I do think the West Division gets it. I have a different team than either one of you. I've got UAB winning the conference. I think they're going to bounce back. They had a bad year last year, but UAB's been a really consistent SFA program, and I think they're getting back to kind of the lead of that conference. I think they're winning.
I changed my answer. Give me Southern Miss, dude. Give me Southern Miss.
We have a Connor Cook lover over here.
Southern Miss.
The transfer from Vanderbilt.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Connor Cook went to Vandy.
I mean,
he transferred
let's
to UAB.
be honest though. He upgraded by transferring to UAB.
Yeah, definitely. All right. I like the pick.
I will also say I really like Southern Miss's class that they're bringing in too.
I do too.
To give them that extra push for that conference, I do like that.
Going into the season, I thought Peyton Hillis, there's no chance Mike would not get him. Like, I felt like as long as he saw him and had a budget, which ended up not happening because he blew it all on Joe Webb. But the fact that it went to a triple option
He needed
program,
to, though.
Like, yeah, I kind of designed Peyton Hillis to be that big time up back, ramming it down their throats, having some good speed and power. So I'm excited for that. I just think it might take maybe a year or two, like maybe when this class is like a junior is when he's going to be at his best. It's going to be like the golden era. All right, on to the MAC. I don't think he's going to win the MAC, but give me Buffalo to become bowl eligible.
I think he becomes bowl eligible, but he's not beating Miami, Ohio for the division.
Nope.
Yeah.
I think Miami, Ohio wins that division without even a second thought.
Well, okay, so
Miami's
I think
running that conference until proven otherwise.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
They're running the conference, but they do lose Gabbert, the QB, who's kind of led them through this era. And Brett Huntley's coming back, and he just beat him. So I'll take Toledo. One more year of Brent Huntley, who coincidentally is the career leader in interceptions in the SFA. So, at 49.
Well, I mean, that makes sense.
It's a fun
Giraffe was
stat.
his coach for most of his career, so.
Yeah. And coincidentally, they run it like 80% of the time, and yet he still leads in interceptions. So that's an interesting tidbit there as well. But I'll say Toledo.
You've got to really be trying to throw picks if if you're leading in interceptions and also are a run-heavy team.
Yeah, it makes you think that Fink is controlling Toledo, like playing the game for him.
Hey, I will let you know that my Miami Dynasty team this year is, I think, 8-1, beaten 3 ranked teams, and I have fewer interceptions than normal.
Okay.
So,
Rise in a deleted file.
Yeah, that's tough. Anybody else have anyone other than Miami, Ohio?
nope.
Okay. Yeah, the MAC's kind of boring. That's why everyone left. All right, Conference USA. I'm taking Louisiana. I don't see a team that's going to be competitive with them. I know we talked about it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hard one to pick, dude.
No, it's not.
I think it's kind of a hot take, dude, but I think people sleep on Texas State a little too much for that conference.
Well,
So
I hear the laugh, but they were a 9-win team last year.
No,
you missed it in season 8, DogWater. They were the team that completely broke the SFAF algorithm. I had them as like a top 5 team most of the season on the algorithm. I can't exactly remember why. They were just ridiculously overranked the entire season. So I think they were like the main reason that I ended up kind of changing how I did the SFAF formulas, because it just kept ranking Texas State, even after they had lost like 3 or 4 games, as like a top 25 team. So they have been pretty consistently solid for a while.
They are losing
they could take
the
that
quarterback,
next step.
though. They're losing McBride, but they have an SFA quarterback, Jose Sanders or something, I believe, from when that guy was here, who was inactive or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah.
Oh yeah, they did have a user.
Another
team
boring
for a while.
conference, and then we'll go to the worst conference in the country, the Mountain West.
Yes, sir.
No Garrett Grayson. It's gonna be wide open. Give me New Mexico. Give me Ryan Leaf and JSN.
Ooh.
And the Fusions
Hot
probably
take.
suck.
Hot
Give me
New
Fresno,
Mexico.
dude. Give me Fresno versus New Mexico. I think New Mexico wins it.
This is the only conference where I have a repeat champion. I got UNLV winning it again.
And
They've shown that they've been very consistent, I think, in kind of the NCAA 14 era. And I think that they're really building something there in Las Vegas.
Well, to me also, if you look at the Fresno versus UNLV, Fresno I think had the better record to end the season. They just lost one more conference game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the difference was Fresno didn't play in their conference championship.
Well, they can't. They're in the same division as UNLV.
Yeah.
So
I like end of the season, they both had 10 wins, but Fresno had 3 losses. UNLV had 4. But yeah.
So UNLV,
they're pretty comparable teams. But.
Yeah, UNLV is probably the best pick, only because of their quarterback, Brumfield. Back to the career rankings and everything, he's up there, and he's coming back for his senior year. He could very well become the leader in like every statistical category almost.
God, dude, the Mountain Division is so bad.
Like, and he doesn't have Garrett Grayson to overshadow him. Like that quarterback is, I think he's gonna be around 90 overall. He's good enough to start on probably the majority of teams. So, I mean, UNLV probably runs the table, and maybe could push
you can't
for a
pick
playoff
anybody
spot,
from the Mountain.
But yeah, I'm just picking a SFA pick for New Mexico. I think this could honestly be a repeat championship game, and I think it would be probably closer than it was this season. Not a massive blowout, but I still probably think UNLV gets it done by 2 scores. But I'm still picking Ryan Leaf. Justice for
I don't hate
JSN.
it. No, my
Yeah.
God.
He gets shipped
And for a
to
little
New
bit of a
Mexico.
bonus. Yeah, for a little bit of a bonus here, I've got BYU going 7-5. Notre Dame, I think, is going to fall back to 9-3. I don't
Nice.
expect them to be nearly as good. They played a cupcake schedule this year. I think they're gonna. They would almost have to play a tougher schedule next year. And I think they lose a couple more games in the regular season. I don't trust Notre Dame being that good of a team.
Verizon actually having to play a real schedule next season.
So, all right,
Well,
last
you're
thing,
gonna have to learn about that, DogWater.
last thing before we
Ugh,
kind of probably
me too.
get to the end here, but anybody have an early prediction for either like Heisman or Player of the Year? Like because Mariota's gone, Garrett Grayson's gone, Marcus Lattimore's gone, like all the heavy hitter big names are gone. Like this is the time where I think a new era is probably going to start.
Give me Himlick.
Heimlich, Heisenberg, who has
Tough for
who's
Weaver
put
to
up
win it.
virtually the exact same stat line in his first 2 seasons. The difference was 12 yards. He had the exact same number of catches, and I believe he only has 12 more yards, and he has the same number of touchdowns. So he is.
Well, didn't your number one receiver leave?
Yes, 2 of my top 3 receivers are leaving.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything. So my whole thing with him is I'm not sure if he was just a product of being able to hide behind 2 top-notch receivers in the country, or if he's just that dude. But I don't know. I just that consistency I don't think is considered hiding behind 2 talented players.
No.
I think that's just fucking consistency from him.
I think the reason he didn't see a massive jump is just because I had so many mouths to feed. I had C.J. Johnson on the outside, Heimlich on the other side, in the slot, Keenan Allen. Tight end had Randy Watson.
Your tight end.
Yeah, and then the backfield, fucking 97 overall, Keaton Mitchell. Like, Alex Flynn had 41 touchdowns. Heimlich got 12 of them. You know, that's probably about even share. So, I think it's just was a product of so many mouths to feed. I couldn't really feed him. But I think this year it goes down to pretty much Heimlich, Randy Watson, and then, you know, it's going to kind of be not much else from there. Hold on, you guys talk. I have to kill a little bug. This thing's massive.
Yeah.
Hold up.
This one might be a bit out of left field. I've got the it kind of goes along with my ACC pick here. I've got the top running back from the season 7 class, Jake Johnson. FSU.
I like
I've got
that.
him winning the Heisman. I have no idea whether he's been playing or not for FSU, but I have to assume at this
He
point.
He got hurt. That's why his production was so low last season. He missed like 8 weeks.
Yep.
8 or 10 weeks.
So in that case, I think he'll be bouncing back from injury. I expect him to be a huge part of that offense, and I think it's going to be a really good one. And I've got him running for 1,000,000 yards and winning the Heisman.
Well, so here's my deal with Jake Johnson. I think it's going to come down to if FSU loses a game and Llama freaks out and changes the playbook to a drastic change like he did last year. I don't think he does. I don't mean that as in like FSU's a bad team. They have probably one of the most goated squads in the SFA right now. But
they have a 15-year-old coach.
Well, no, I mean like it's nothing against him. It's just like I think that drastic jump. FSU probably wins the ACC last year if he doesn't switch to the triple option just out of nowhere. He switched to the triple option and left for 2 weeks, and they lost like 3 games. So, and then he comes back, changes it to an air raid offense, and they go and they win out the season. You can't. I think there's just. I don't know. I think Jake Johnson. I really do like that pick a lot, actually. As long as they don't lose a game and he freaks out again.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah, we'll have to see. But I mean, if he freaks out and takes it to an option playbook, also would probably work well for Jake Johnson. So.
Well, probably not, dude. Because when they did the triple option last year, dude, they were putting up like 200 yards a game, like total offense.
Yeah, well, that's fair. Yeah, I don't know what it is with the triple option on NCAA 14.
No,
Whenever
it's
I've
a
ran it,
great playbook for the NCAA. It's just
well,
people don't understand. You have to
I don't
roster
know.
manage the triple option, and you have to have the right personnel to even manage to begin with. That's why
See,
Mike has such a
here's the
good
thing.
time with it.
From my very limited experience with using it for my Miami dynasty, and it may be a different thing in sim than it is using it actually play in the games. It's hard as shit to run it for whatever reason. I don't know. It
Well,
seems
yeah,
like
because
they're
you're
always
usually having to
throwing
make
up the
three
triple
quick
option.
reads.
It just doesn't work. So I don't know, but I
No,
we
and
I
what
legitimately run the ball better playing when I'm doing like just an air raid offense than I would
mhm.
doing a triple option.
Yeah, because you spread the defense out. When you run triple
Yeah,
option, you're stacking the box no matter what.
yeah. I don't know what it is, but
Well, the thing is, I think a lot of people mess up because they go and look up. I know a lot of people try to look up like what the best playbooks are for sim and stuff like that, and that kind of screws them whenever you're trying to look at game day and everything. Because the triple option is actually statistically the best simulated playbook in the NCAA 14.
yeah. And I mean,
But
it makes sense because those triple option teams are always good. If you'll
yeah,
always
but it
have armies.
requires the right personnel. Someone like Georgia Tech, because NCAA 14, like if the new one came out, it wouldn't work for Georgia Tech because they switched to I think, a spread offense now in real life. So if the new NCAA drops, they would not be good at the triple option. But NCAA 14 is back when Georgia Tech ran the triple option, so they have the personnel right now for it. So when he goes in there and makes a few roster moves, he actually has the personnel that he can move around. But when you go to a team like FSU, who's built for an air raid, built for a spread offense or a pistol offense, it just doesn't work because you don't have the right people to put around in places that you need them.
Yeah, I real life Georgia Tech. They probably should go back to the option if we're being honest. Because good lord, that
Well, they did.
program.
Well, that the reason they switched because they didn't have the personnel.
Yeah, it's realistically like it was going to take a 4 to 5 year. Like they were going to have to have a complete roster kind of flip over, um, going from the
I
Paul Johnson
They
offense
didn't
to
want to
like a
waste
more
Sims.
normal offense. But
That's my
it was
opinion.
pretty clear that Jeff Collins, he was a really good recruiter. Dude could not coach, not a bit.
Well, not even just that. I don't think they wanted to waste Sims because Sims has a really good arm. But
Yeah.
you put him into a triple option for no reason, then you're just kind of asking for it to go downhill.
Well,
Right.
I don't know that it is because Sims has the running capabilities to be a triple option quarterback, but he's also got the arm.
He
So
does,
if
but
you
they don't have
did
the
put him in a
line.
legit, if you put him in a legit triple option system, I think the dude would thrive. Um, but
Yeah, and he is
they're
in NCAA 14 right now.
yeah,
Like that he just
if
had, he
they're
had
not gonna
Sims.
legitimately go back to a triple option, like they don't need to kind of screw around with it. They need to just kind of take their lumps going back to a normal system. Like they Georgia Tech just really needs to decide whether they're going to be a triple option team or a normal team.
They
If they're going to
can't.
be normal, they just have to accept being kind
Well,
of
they
terrible
they
for a
can't
while.
because they're one of the few schools that the alumni does not care about the football team. They don't care how good they are. They don't care how bad they are. They just do not care. They don't have alumni support like teams like Florida State would or Georgia or Alabama. Like they just don't have the
Well,
support.
those are bad comps. I think to Georgia Tech as a school. Georgia Tech is much more a comp to like your maybe not North Carolina, but like your Virginias or your I'm trying to think of like a really good comp school for Georgia Tech. Um, but I mean they're much more academically focused and they athletics just isn't as big of a thing for them for the most part. Um, so I mean it's I can't really compare them to a huge state school like Georgia or Clemson or something like that. Because I mean that's not the school that Georgia Tech is. You know, they're a very ACC type school.
Well, they're a
Uh,
very academic school.
yeah, I mean they really are similar to Carolina if you just take away like Carolina being goated at basketball. Those are two very similar schools. I feel like otherwise, um, and it's just kind of a different challenge when you're out. I mean, I go to Wake Forest, and we're a completely different situation because we're such a small like private school.
Well, you've got a 30,000 fucking fan capacity.
Yeah, and I mean, we only have like 4,000 to 5,000 students at a time, so it's like we can only fill, in our wildest dreams, like a 30,000 seat stadium. We have no chance of being able to even do something like Keenan at UNC, where you can fill 60,000. So I mean, it's just a very different situation. But when you're that academic of a school, sports can be kind of an afterthought, and sort of the best you're hoping for is like that Stanford run when they had Andrew Luck and they were kind of running the Pac-12 there for like half a decade. That's kind of the best you're hoping for, because you're never really going to be like a premier power. So.
Oh, also TC, go ahead and mark me 3-10 on the upset picks.
You already lost?
Tulane's up 28. No, Tulane's up 35-7.
Nice. Alrighty. All right, so we just went over the 2-hour mark, which is insane. But I think we should probably get towards the end here. Right now, if you're listening, head over to the Discord, because I'm gonna post all players on all user teams currently that are not graduating. So like they're either going to the draft, they're transferring, they're declaring early or whatnot. So head over to the Discord, and then tamper choices will come out tomorrow. I'm going to do all the randomizers right now. It's going to be a surprise for you guys. But yeah, so I want to thank you guys all for watching. If you ever want to be on the podcast, or you have like a suggestion for something that we should talk about or anything, let us know in the suggestions channel. But yeah, thanks for watching.